Hello, Bingies. Welcome to BingeWorthy, part of the Geekish Network. We binge a show to let you know if you should. I'm your host, Ricard, the noob from the Ville, and with me, we have Randy and Chuck. Randy, say hello to the people.
What's going on, Benjis? Do this tonight.
All right, and we have one of the co-founders of the Geekish Network himself, the OG, Chuck. Say hello to the people.
What it do, people? What it do?
Now, if you're an audience member, feel free to communicate with us. So jump in the chat so you can communicate with us. Tonight, we're going to let you know if you should binge watch Netflix's Gundam, Requiem for Vengeance. Now, this takes place during the late stages of the One-Year War, and it follows Iria Solari, a Principality of Zeon pilot under the Red Wolves Division, who is tasked with defending the European front against the Earth Federation Force's efforts on reclaiming the area. Now, Rodney will post the cast members' ratings for Gundam Requiem of Vengeance. Like, I'm just tongue twisted here.
Good, man.
While Rodney posts the ratings, I want to let you know that we rate the show at the beginning, and then we'll rate it again at the end of the podcast, just see if anybody's had a change of heart during our ratings. So, Rodney, best technical producer in the land, what did we come up with? What were our ratings? All right, we had a mini meal and 2 full meals, which still equals out to about a 3.7 something. So as of right now, it rounds up to a 4, to a full meal. So Chuck, you want to discuss why you gave it a full meal?
Yeah. Initially I was gonna give it a mini meal. And what pushed it up to a full meal for me was the perspective it had on Gundam. Usually Gundams are from the perspective of Gundams, which is usually for the Earth colony. There's this space vehicle that comes part of the Earth colony in particular protect the Earth. And this was from another faction, from the other factions, from the Zuka's point of view, Zuka pilot's point of view in particular. Usually the Zukas are they do cannon fodder to the Gundams. They're just cannon fodder to Gundams. But it's interesting to see this perspective versus always following behind the Gundam. So I think it was deserving of a full meal because of the different perspective it had, and I enjoy it. I enjoy that.
Okay. Randy.
For me, anytime you get mechs, you don't need lots and lots of story. You get mechs because you want to see shit getting blown up. You want to see people fighting. And I thought for this, it delivered on a lot of that. It was action packed throughout there. The action sequences I thought were dope. And I also thought they told a story. They told various stories about each action sequence, and I really enjoyed that. And with the characters that we got, it was only a 6 episode season, and I thought they utilized it, and I thought that they took advantage of the time frame that they had. We didn't get anything extra, we didn't get anything less. I thought it was a really succinct execution on a fun story. And as Chuck said, I like the perspective that it went from. I was tempted to give this a full binge out. Kind of the only reason that kind of stopped me from going that route was the animation style. The animation style I didn't think was stellar for what I was looking at. I enjoy animation, but I am by no means an expert in it. But what I saw, it wasn't visually compelling to me. So that's really what held me back from giving it a full binge out. Other than that, everything else I enjoyed about it.
I think I'm gonna give my reason and branch into our first question, which is how well does this show balance plot, character development, and world building? I think I agree with some of your both of your points. I gave this show a 3, a mini meal, and I was really very close, actually on the fence of a 2, a snack. Just because, for one, I think main turnoff for me was the animation style using Unreal Engine 5. I mean, I get it, but it seemed like a long cutscene to a video game for me. Um, it just did, and that did not pull me in. Um, Character development, I think, to Chuck's point, I did like that it came from the other sides. Usually, every other Gundam I've ever seen is always on the side of Gundam, the Earth Federation forces. So to see it on the other side was kind of cool. It reminded me, I think we had this philosophical debate a long time ago about what if you watched The Walking Dead, but from Negan and his group's point of view instead of Rick Grimes and his group. Like, would Rick and them still be the good guys, or would, a lot of stuff they did? No, they're the bad guys. And I think it's interesting when the camera who it follows, when you follow their story and you get to know their people, no, they're the good guys, the other people are bad guys. It's a matter of perspective. So I thought that was interesting. But as far as character development, Iria Solari was the main character, and there was a small portion in the last episode where I started to care, but before that, I really didn't care. I didn't care about her character. I didn't care about the Principality of Xeon. I didn't care about any of them, and that for me is why I was kind of middle of the road. There was some good points and some that didn't really work for me. Any of you guys want to tackle, balance the show? How do they balance the plot, character development, or any of the world building?
Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay, I can go in here because I'm very familiar with Gundam. Gundam was the manga that I read to learn Japanese off of when I lived in Japan. I would go to
Okay.
a manga shop, and there was a guy that had all the Gundam timelines and the universes how to connect it on the wall on the map. And he would give me the Gundam manga to read with him to figure out what's going on. So Gundams are about war. It's not really about the big mech, the Gundam mech. It's about war and how people handle war. And it was written to be a commentary on like World War II, the Gulf War, the Korean War, and just wars in general. And This didn't have a lot of story. It didn't tell you anything about Gundams. If you knew the Gundam, you would have no idea why is this mech so special and why is it so different. You would have no idea that. You would have no idea that the Xenons are considered the bad side of the Gundam War. They're not a part of the Earth Federation forces, and that they don't have an alliance. They have an alliance with Venus and Saturn, but don't have an alliance with Mercury. You would have all that. So it's really interesting that me having the background, I knew what it was about, and that since Arya was from space and she was tuned, she could probably pilot a Gundam. She probably had the
Hmm.
ability to pilot a Gundam, and her son would probably be able to pilot a Gundam, because she can actually hear those frequencies of a Gundam. So I
Hmm.
found that very interesting, and I thought it did a good job for me. But I can see if I was fresh eyes to this, and I wanted to know more about the Gundam world. I think I didn't get a lot of that. I got a lot of their story. It kind of reminded me of Mad Max, the latest edition of Mad Max. It's a vignette in these people's lives, and if you don't do any research, you don't know what happened before it or after it. It's like right there in the middle of what these people are doing.
And
Are you
see,
talking
I'm
about
the
the
person you're talking about.
Furiosa movie?
Yeah, Furiosa movies. Like you just jump
Yeah.
in the middle of their lives. You have no idea why they're there and who's in control or whatnot. And you run into the leaders, but you have no idea why they're the leaders or how
And
they got
Okay.
there.
I'm the person you're
Okay.
talking about because I don't have a vast
Yeah.
history of
Me
it.
too.
And so being dropped, and I got the interpretation that I was dropped into the middle of something. I didn't necessarily know the beginning, and I don't know where it was going. And for me, I was fine with that because I felt like they were dropping hints and clues enough to peel it away for me to see it. I didn't get the full answer. It's like being in anything. Like you don't necessarily know where things are going. You just know there's something that's quite off there. And they painted the scene where like she kind of, what you just said, she kind of knew something about the Gundams, and I didn't know what that was. And I was interested in going on that journey, going into it blind to see how this was going to unfold. They didn't give it to me, they didn't spoon feed it to me, and maybe we've got to do it in another season. But I like the fact that I didn't know where I was going. I was just dropped into this world, and I had to kind of figure it out myself. So that was something that was a plus to me.
Um, just to I guess finish this question off, that was also for me. I know very little about Gundam. Like my first uh anime that I really got into was Robotech back in, mid 80s. Robotech was it for me, where I got to learn about mechs and stuff. Um, but then since Robotech went off or branched out in Neon Genesis Evangelion and Gundam, I was confused. I thought they was all the same thing, just different names. I didn't know there was three like completely different properties, and it just confused me. And then, you know, started watching Voltron and Transformers came along. I was like, you know what? These mechs, I understand. They turn into cars and shit. I'm with that. So, were there any standout performances that elevated the show for you?
Um, the fight scenes, I think they were the best characters in this. I think when it came down to the robots fighting, it was amazing watching the Xenons versus the Gundam. That Gundam pilot was whooping everybody's ass.
He
He
sure
he
was.
was he was on fire, and that's the power of a Gundam. We were talking to somebody else that is an alum of the network. I was talking to Centel, and I was like, it's like watching Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's what I likened it to. Gundam came on the scene. I'm the effing natural disaster. And everybody gets it. Everybody gets it.
See, for me, I love the fights too. Like if there's any redeeming quality to this, it was the action scenes. The fight scenes were quite good. And the Gundam, I never thought of Godzilla though. For me, uh he was freaking Jason Voorhees. Like the Gundam was Michael Myers. It didn't matter what they did. They threw everything they could at him. And listen, what I'm saying? It wasn't a fart to him, You think you the shit, you're not even a fart. Like he kept coming for him. And I was just like, but I didn't understand kind of the Randy's part. I knew a little bit about Gundam, but I didn't know why is he so freaking strong? Why is he so powerful? Why can they not do nothing with him?
Because of the
Um,
metal. The metal is called Gundanium. So the metal is impenetrable metal. There's
Oh,
nothing in the world that can. It's like a black hole made of metal. So that's what made him strong. The Gundam pilot is not from Earth. He's from
is
outer
he from
space.
space too?
Hmm.
And that's why he's tuned. That's why,
That's why he's
well,
tuned.
and
Yeah.
I'm not going to, because that something around that comes up during the show. So I'm not going to give that
Hmm.
away, but okay,
That's why
that
he's
makes sense.
tuned.
I just wish that even though I think doing 6 episodes was perfect, it wasn't too long. Like I could make it through it and I'm like, yeah, I still think I need a little exposition. Give me a little bit. I don't know what the hell I'm watching,
Yeah.
so
It's
that,
interesting, right?
And I get that.
Because
yeah,
not to dive too deep into lore of Gundam, the first Gundam TV show came out in 1979.
Yeah,
did it?
it's
Yeah,
old.
it's the
Yeah,
oldest one. It's the
yeah.
oldest. It created the mecha genre.
Hmm.
It
So
and Pat Labor. Yeah, it and Pat
It's
Labor
prior to
created the mecha genre.
Transformers and Voltron.
Yeah, it's before that. It preceded all of
so
them.
So I remember because I remember, like I said, my first love was Robotech. But I remember
Hmm.
that when Robotech came out, didn't didn't they have like the rights to Gundam or something? It was very convoluted where they were using other
Macross.
properties.
They're using Macross.
Macross, yeah. See, like I
Macross is
knew there was
based
a
on
lot of
Gundam.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, see, it's all
Yeah.
confusing me. Yeah, when you see one mech, you see them all. Mama
I
call me
like
play, I'm call
watching.
play.
Yeah, I like watching mechs fight. I do. I do. I think that's really cool. And to you all's point, the action sequences is really what sold it to me. So, and I like that we got a lot of fighting, and I like that we were in a war torn place, and you could see the damages and everything that was going on in this
Mm-hmm.
world. But if there was a human performance that stood out to me, it was Alfie. He just reminded me of that kind of uncle with the kind of wisdom out there. He was always guiding things, just a little silly, a little funny. So I actually thought he was the standout character for me. I enjoy watching
Yeah.
him. The
Oh,
black
Yeah.
guy,
okay.
The black guy, the black mechanic, the pilot.
LaShawn.
No,
Oh
no,
no, okay,
no.
yeah, captain,
Old
not
captain.
the
The
yeah,
old black
I
captain.
did I did
yeah,
like him. They kept
yeah,
calling because I forgot his name was Alfie. They kept calling him Captain Zydos, but yeah,
Captain
Alfie.
Zydos, yeah, Alfie. That yeah, it's his first
Yeah.
name. So
I
yeah, he was a
actually
standout performance to me.
I actually like LaShawn because I understood LaShawn's anger.
Yeah,
Yeah, now that
Killed my
I got
whole
too.
squad in front of me
right.
and
Yeah.
almost
Mm-hmm.
killed me. Luckily, my captain saved me.
Mm-hmm.
Understood him as well.
Yeah.
And and yeah, like I yeah, you're right about that. I did like Alfie. I did like, and even though he had some comical lines, Alfie had some comical lines. He ended up
Hmm.
becoming the heart of the show,
Yeah.
Hmm.
where LaShawn on the other side was the anger. He was the vengeance of the show. And
Yeah.
uh Area, she became like the integrity of the show, which
Hmm.
to Chuck's earlier point, if they have been normally depicted in every other property as being the bad guys, to see stuff from their perspective and see they're not the bad guys. They got families. They just trying to get back to their families. They're just trying to survive this war. They're just trying to get back to space. Like that is very interesting to see, to humanize them, and like we have more in common than we do apart. This war is
Yeah.
unfortunate, and it's
Yeah.
probably started by people who don't have a single relative even in this war or nothing like that. So
Yeah.
I did like that. I just wish that some of that was explained to us.
Yeah.
You're right, because
And
I didn't know that until Chuck just said it. I actually thought
Yeah,
they were the good guys. I didn't know that.
yeah.
I'm really now just finding out, and it's making me even adjust to how I viewed the show. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
well, here's the thing that I'll say about that. I knew a little bit about Gundams, but it made me question everything when I was watching it, because I was like, I thought the Gundams were the good guys, like. And so when they were like trying to fight themselves off from the Gundam was, turning a hole through everybody. I was like, okay, well, maybe I don't remember like I thought to. Maybe the Gundams are the bad guys. Like I just how I thought about it. I was like, huh. I thought, okay, maybe I was wrong.
And the Gundam, all children, child rebel soldiers. The Gundam is about child rebel soldiers, children that are fighting a war that they don't know how it started or why it's even there. And then
Which
there's
is a
players
perfect
over top of them.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue to the next question, which what were the recurring themes or motifs that added depth to the narrative? And the way that you explained it, it gave a depth to me that I wish was in the show. Like,
Mhm.
I shouldn't have you come and explain the basic premise behind the show. And I do love that it's a fact that, like the way you explained the very beginning, that this is a narrative about war, about World War II, about the Korean War, about Vietnam War, about Desert Storm, about World War III and wars to come. And it's fought by children because really that's how it is. I mean, in other countries, they're younger children, but here, especially when we had the draft, you hit 18, you still do a selective service thing right now. And I think they're reenacting the draft. Like at 18, you children, they're not old enough to drink a beer when we send them off to be killers. We
Yeah.
train them to be killers, but they can't have a beer.
Yeah, it never made sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. Loss and how we deal with loss, I thought, is
Ooh,
a
good
recurring
one.
theme
Good
out there
one.
because
Nice. Very nice.
everybody lost something in this thing. Everybody's all their
Mm-hmm.
cards were on the table and how they reacted to it. Some people and everybody reacted differently. So that was one that stood out to me.
You say
One.
everybody on both sides?
Well, everybody from the side that we saw reacted different to losses that transpired in
Yeah.
their lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gundam was one of the first series I've ever watched in life where the protagonist, you lose them. And I remember being like on the 12th episode of Gundam. I was watching in Japan. I think I forgot which Gundam it was. I want to say it was Gundam 1 or 2, the movies. And you lose the
Mm-hmm.
protagonist to get killed. And the war
So
can
it was the anime Game of Thrones way back in the day.
way back in the day. Way back in the day. Yeah.
Dang, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They have a
And I
Gundam where the pilot won but got trapped in space and never got found.
damn.
The
Hey,
power went
okay,
out. Power the power in
that
his
comes
Gundam
with it.
suit went out and nobody found him. He died in
Oh,
space.
so it definitely was not like what was that? One of Avengers or one of them where the ship
Hmm.
went out, but they found Tony Stark and them in the last second. It wasn't like that.
No,
See,
no.
that's why I love Eastern storytelling. We don't get this sort of linear, the
Yeah,
heroes got to make it all the way through. Like,
yeah,
now we can kill somebody off in episode 1 or 2. Or we can just
Yeah.
have you out there that don't know about them for like 10 years and you just
And
wonder whatever happened to them. Like,
and
I
that's
love
okay
that.
because if you're looking for heroes, next man step up.
yeah.
Well,
You
I
might
I
be
like
like it
12
that.
not
episodes
necessarily.
in your
I
root
like it
for this
because it's real
character.
life. You never
Yeah,
know who's going to make
you
it
never know
in
who's
real
gonna
life.
make it. Just
Sometimes the
happen.
most qualified, the best trained, the smartest, they're the ones who get it.
You get ones who
The
get it.
bravest, they get it. And so,
Yeah,
like, it mirrors real. It's funny to me, it takes animation to mirror real life more accurately. And that's
yeah,
something that
yeah.
I actually like.
There's a quote that comes up on my Facebook feed from time to time, on my Instagram feed. Mount Everest is full of bold people. Calm down.
Ooh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mount Everest is full of bold people,
Yeah.
and it's not until you really think
Mhm.
about that you understand the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Bold
Yeah.
people who are forever will be on Mount
Well
Everest. They are
trained,
frozen ice.
project,
They not leaving Mount Everest.
Yeah,
Like,
PhD.
and they're
Yep.
bold, they're courageous, they're smart, probably even, but
Smart,
it doesn't
brilliant,
even matter. Like
strong.
in life, anybody can get it, and so when they do
anybody
things
can
like
get it.
that, I love it.
I do too, because I think that's one of the beauties of life, and I think
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about that actually today, because I was talking about some of the things that they didn't like on actually the show that we're going to be covering next week, Legend of Vox Machina. Um, just some of the things that are in there, and I think it's wonderful. I heard a quote about Mount Everest where I don't know, maybe it's some dude, billionaire, millionaire. He went up on Mount Everest and no one could understand why he, had to trek to the top of Mount Everest. I said, why would you go up there to die? And he said, I didn't. I went up there to live, and it's just one of those things, kind of like what y'all were just saying about bold people.
Hmm.
You know, I I love a show like this that shows people that take the chances and put it all on the line. And
Hmm.
unlike a lot of Western storytelling where we always have to create this hero and this false narrative. Sometimes doing that will cost you everything.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
so that's why I love Eastern storytelling. And really, anime is really what prompted it. I was like, anime, they'll kill any goddamn body. They don't care. The most beloved character out there that you think's gonna make it through, like, nope. Episode 3, little buddy dead.
Yeah.
Y'all built him up
Or,
He
just
said,
enough
or,
for me
nobody
to
dead.
love him.
or better
Huh?
yet, episode 22 and he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
22,
Wait till
he's
the
dead.
end. Kill him.
22 episodes. 22 times 30 is what? 600 something minutes? 700
Yeah.
minutes?
I just
660.
sometimes think like they're the clearest. You just kind of pick them to win. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna be the one to make it, and they're like, nah,
No.
No.
nah.
He made it this far. His story is done now.
His story is done,
He
just
made it
like
far
real life,
enough.
just like real life.
Made it
And
far enough.
I think that's, and it's funny that we say that because even though George R.R. Martin's writing in the books was great, but what made the show so popular is that was really one of the first times in Western material that the hero,
Yeah,
the person that you put a lot of stock in, like this the star of the show, he got it.
he
And then
got
you're
it
like, wait, what the hell? This ain't like a comic book movie. You're not bringing it back to life? No, he
right.
gone. He's
Nah,
like,
he
okay,
go.
well, this is my new favorite character. Oh, well, wait 4 more episodes. We got something for his ass too. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And it's not like trickery, but it's like, again, that's the way life works. The
That is-
valedictorian dude, he working at McDonald's right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like
yeah.
those type of things. You know what I'm saying? And
Anime's that thing.
I just
Yeah.
like that.
And that was what was cool about Game of Thrones too. They didn't wait to the season finale or whatever
Right.
and kill him on a cliffhanger or whatever. You like, nah, he gonna come
Just
back
kill
the
him on a
next season.
Tuesday.
He
Just
can't
a
be
regular
dead. No,
Yep.
he gonna crawl to a first aid station. No, they kill him. You know what I'm saying? This
Yeah.
episode 7. We got 5 more
That's
episodes. What the hell? Like,
and that's
yeah,
what makes
like,
Gundam what it is that it's war. It's a
It
conversation
is.
war. And anybody can have it. And we're training these kids. We're training children.
And the
mm-hmm.
fact that they can drop us in the middle of it and none of us can tell who the good guys or the bad guys without historical context, I think is another powerful element of the storytelling
Yeah.
about war.
And they couldn't tell you the
Which,
historical context because they didn't know why they were fighting. They were all fighting to get
yeah,
home. Everybody that
which
said,
is
I'm fighting
also
to get home.
that's interesting too about historical context, because the thing about history is it's his story. History is told by the victors.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they were right. That just means
Right.
that they won. That don't
Yeah.
mean that their cause, their purpose, whatever, why they were fighting, doesn't mean they're right. And really, when you're at war, nobody wins. Everybody loses. So,
Yeah.
you got a group of people fighting another group of people, and that's what made it more interesting. As the Principality of Xeon people start explaining, we just trying to make it home.
Yeah.
You need to think about your child. We just trying to get back to space. As a matter of fact, at the end, they almost running, kind of running away from the conflict. Like, the hell with this. That Gundam is too strong. Let's just get to the ships. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's get back to space.
And to
And
me, like,
yeah, like that.
Like, she was a musician. I don't want to spoil too much, but she was a musician. And now she's like a captain in a goddamn war, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a hell of a transition.
Well, and the fact that they talked about her father, and he was a super gifted musician too, which kind of goes into the part that these people like Iria and probably her father had this special gift or whatever from, these space people. They understood, heard music, saw music on a different wavelength, a different level. And that's what made them so good at piloting their mechs. They didn't have that Gundam shit. That Gundam, they had that new. They,
Yeah. And we're learning that. And so, yeah, these were the things that I thought was really cool.
We only had 6 episodes. Do you guys, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, since we're kind of there, how do you think the show handled the pacing And the way that it ended was that, I mean, I don't know if it was a cliffhanger, but I say it could lend to a season two if it wanted to. But how do you think it handled that?
I, I personally think it did a good job because it left the open closed story, right? Like we
Hmm.
can close the story. Um, we know that there's more. If you're familiar with the Gundam universe, there's not just one of them. There's not just one Gundam out there, and they're hard to find. And there's only a few people have them, and it depends on which lore they go. Because there's one corporation that can make replicas of them, and they
Hmm.
haven't got to those stories. And this story didn't go into the political side. When you see previous Gundam stuff, you go from the Gundam perspective of the Gundam, it goes in heavy into the politics. It turns into Game of Thrones, basically. So
Mm.
it turns into what's the new one? The new Game of Thrones show?
House
House
of
of
The
Dragon.
Dragon.
Dragons.
It's like House of Dragons. There's a lot of room in boardrooms. There's a lot of talk in boardrooms.
Mm.
But I think if they closed it, it's perfect. I think you gave me just enough of this story. You can close it. You can end it with Arya. I'm happy where she ended up at. I'm happy where everybody ended up at actually, and pick up somebody else.
And see, that's what I want. I want that exact. Rakai, the question earlier was about theme. So, like season one, the theme is war and how it impacts people and its children
Hmm.
and those things. So next season, maybe we get political side, right? And then maybe another
I see
season we
what you're
get a.
doing.
The next thing
I
we
see
get
what
the
you're doing.
business side because we got a corporation that's making it. I think I don't know. I find that those perspectives to be interesting, and maybe we could get something like that
I
for
see
the
how you
seasons.
just turned I see how you just turned Gundam into the wire.
I
He
did.
did.
I
He did.
did. I
He
Uh-huh.
did.
did.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking that too.
I
I
was
I
was
just
like,
like, I
did.
see what you're doing.
Man, see,
But
I
you
was
but
trying to make it like it was my original thought. Thank you very much for yeah, I did. I did.
I mean, using that background in this property, that is your original thought. Ain't nobody else thought of doing that before.
yeah,
And
yeah.
actually, I can't hold you. That's actually pretty interesting.
It's a good idea.
Like the way that Chuck says in other properties, it
Right.
delves into other stuff. To see it in a more succinct story like this, where we can get it, like that's the one problem with anything. Like if this came out in '79
It'd be 22
and
episodes.
I watched I watched a Gundam movie a couple years ago, I think, and I really didn't know what I was watching. I was lost, but I watched it because Chuck told me to watch it. I think it was Hathaway. Was that is a
Out the
Gundam
way.
story?
Hmm.
Yeah, you said to watch that, and there was a lot more humans and a lot less mechs, and I was like, I thought this was a mech story. What the hell am I watching?
No, it's
Um,
about humans in war.
yeah, and I got that, and it was a completely
Hmm.
different thing. It was a lot of backbiting and backstabbing and the royalty of who belongs to this and who should do that. It was a lot of political stuff. And I was
Yeah,
like, this is not what I thought I was going to get. It
yeah,
wasn't bad though. I think
yeah,
my biggest issue here is just the animation style. Like I
yeah,
thought it
yeah.
handled the pacing well. Um, it gave us action when we needed some action. The voice acting wasn't bad. And I watched it in dubbed, so I watched it in English voice, and I know that I think the original is actually in Japanese,
No, they
I believe.
translated it. So it was written by an English writer. They translated to Japanese, and they actually I think they did the animation to the Japanese.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird, but
Another friend of
okay.
the
So
network.
I watched it. I watched it with the English voice actors.
Me
Um,
too. Me
so
too.
that wasn't bad, but I and it maybe that's what it was. That the dub seemed off because it wasn't a dub that they actually animated to the Japanese. That's
They
like
did. They did.
uh
It was a mouse sync to the English. And
yeah, because the writer is was it a
Gavin
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 Hignight.
Ignite?
Hicknight.
Yeah.
Gavin Hicknight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
So
was a friend of the show. He's been here before.
He's a friend of the show. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
All
we
He,
had
right.
him on for
It's
Tekken and Transformers back when we first started.
yeah.
okay.
He
Well,
came on
it's too
twice
bad
for it.
he couldn't have been on with us tonight. That'd have been great. I'd
Yeah.
have loved
Yeah.
to talk to him about it. But I think pacing, where the story ended, where it kind of left it open where we could do another season or pick up with someone else. I did like that. Like I said, I just wish we had more exposition so I could understand the characters of the factions a little bit more. And then the animation style using Unreal Engine 5 took me out of it. Like
Yeah.
I it seemed like I was watching a long cutscene to a video game that I didn't understand.
Yeah, I think it was the animation studio. It might have been one of the earlier projects because their hard surface animation was good. When the Gundams were fighting each other, it looked magical. It looked perfect. But then when
Yeah,
people
I ain't
were
mad at that.
talking and when they were animating and their face
Yeah.
gestures and their
Mm-hmm.
eyes were dead, they fell off the cliff of the uncanny
Yeah.
valley, all the way
I
off.
was like, hell,
And
I was like, it looked better in Red Dead Redemption than this. I
it
was
it
like,
kind of
shit.
reminded me of marionettes, like the puppet shows, like Team America or the
Team America seemed better than that.
Thunderbolts or the marionette
Yeah,
puppets. It
Thunderbolts.
was kind of like marionette puppets when they were talking and stuff. And I was like, y'all needed soft surface animators. There's a difference between hard surface and soft surface artists. Some artists are better at making vehicles and hard surface things like
I don't know.
wood
You can't say
and
nothing bad
and then
about Team America.
and then
Freedom
there's
isn't free.
then there's some people that are really
Cost a
good
buck oh
at
five.
then there's some people that are really good at doing like skin and creatures and animals and humans. And I feel like they didn't have a strong soft surface animation team. Like they didn't have somebody that was
Okay.
really good at doing faces and facial animations and catching things. And then they didn't resync the voices to English voice speakers, which I thought was interesting too. Because Unreal Engine does great animation. We see it all in the
I've seen
Mandalorian.
some
We-
really great animation in Unreal
Yeah,
Engine.
yeah. The last
But
three Star Wars films, all the creatures that were not
I
made
don't
in
have the
the
vocabulary to explain it like Chuck does, but again, animation was my
yeah,
biggest drawback that I
it's
had
the
to
biggest
it.
yeah,
drawback from the whole
Yeah,
entire
it was
thing.
just like I'm trying to, so I had to push, and I also beg up the point. Like I'm glad we were doing it for the show because at first glance at the animation, I don't know if I would have. If I would have pushed through it, so it was a big challenge, and it was enough to bring it down a whole rating to me. Because
And
other than that, I loved it.
especially with the hype of the trailers. They're teasing from Geek Week from last year to now. Those trailers look beautiful, stunning. You think you're gonna get some arcane level animation in this.
Yeah, let's not
Like
go
arcane is like great
there.
animation.
yeah, that wasn't it.
Nah, even Batman Ninja's animation was really strong. I think it was made in Unreal too.
Yeah,
Really.
so
But,
Yeah,
but that
it
story
didn't
was
look the
really weird.
same. And I
That
think it's
story was
like you
weird.
said, I don't know anything about soft surface or all
Yeah,
that wonderful stuff you said.
the
Like
art
when it
style
comes
didn't
to
really.
that kind of animation or artwork, listen, we turn to you and Catherine. Y'all are the ones who know that, you know.
Yeah.
Centel, y'all know that, but you and Catherine, y'all the experts. Like
So
I don't know. But it took me out of it. And I think you said like their eyes, their facial, it looked dead to me. And it just it like best I can explain it is a cut scene from a video game that I didn't understand, and I'm just like, So,
so
is this show, is this season of Gundam, is it binge worthy material or not? You guys want to go ahead and rewrite it?
yeah,
we can.
damn.
I'll jump in here. I definitely think it is. For all the reasons that we've talked about. We get mechs that are fighting, and the mechs fighting I thought looked good. We get to see a different perspective from what we've traditionally interpreted as a hero. And we also get to see just the consequences of war and loss. So it did a lot in only 6 episodes, in my opinion. The only thing that, again, that challenged me was the animation. I would like to see them all the vocabulary that Chuck used because I don't have it, just quite frankly. And I'm glad he's on here to make that interpretation. But all the things that he talked about, I think they missing. And if they can get that down, I think we got a real winner on our hand for subsequent seasons. So I'm gonna keep my rating the same as it is. I'm gonna give it a 4 mil.
Okay. Let me jump in here. I really, up until the last few minutes, I was gonna move up to a full meal. I think I'm gonna stay at a 3 at a mini meal. only because the animation still kind of takes me out of it. And to watch 6 episodes, even though six is the right number, but if those are 30 plus minutes or whatever, that's 3 hours of my life I've just devoted to watching long ass cutscenes. Um, the only reason I'm staying at a mini meal though is anyone else who's like me, who drops into this world not knowing anything about Gundam lore, not knowing anything about Gundam as a whole, they're not going to understand what the hell's going on. So,
Mhm.
yes, I'm going to get some cool ass fights, but I'm not going to understand the dichotomy between what's going on between these two factions. Are there more factions? Why are they fighting? It just some people fighting, some mechs fighting, and it doesn't give me enough to actually invest in any character or characters. I don't care enough. And that's hurtful because once you explained it, Chuck, I was like, damn, if I understood that and it gave me a different perspective, that made it,
Mhm.
that actually did make it so much better. And I would have moved up just for that if I understood that. But because I didn't, and because the average viewer's not going to understand that, I've got to stay at a mini meal.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it as a full meal. Uh, I think the animation needs to improve. Overall, I enjoyed this story. I really did enjoy this Gundam story. I enjoyed the perspective more than anything else. I like the fact how we dived into the our protagonist in the story, Arya, her story, and I think we did a really good job of explaining her story and her abilities as a Spacian. Um, I think she was a good Spacian. I enjoyed her interaction with all the characters, even the antagonist characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed everybody's perspective of war. It was honest. I felt like it was honest.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There was no glory in this
I
whatsoever.
agree to that.
Yeah.
It was an honest depiction of what war
Yeah,
is, especially with older humans that have been war torn and brought in this, and young humans coming into war.
mm-hmm.
But I think I agree the animation of the humans. It's just the human animation that really bothered me. That and the
Yeah,
vehicle tires didn't rotate. I was
yeah.
gonna say that too. The tires of the vehicles didn't rotate. But watching those
They
big
had
mechs
spinners.
fight, man, they were amazing. Like when she turned her head, the Zuka's eye turned to the left or the right.
Yeah,
So that was dope as all outdoors. And how the Gundam looked. Like it looked menacing. I
it
saw it
did.
and I was like, this is Godzilla. It popped
Yes,
out
it
of
did.
nowhere and was like, I'm here. I
Mm-hmm.
am him. And
Yeah,
it proved I am him. And I
yeah.
was like,
And it
this
said, I
is
want all the smoke.
yeah, that would scare me to death, you know? And so
See
I
that.
just thought, you know, the Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. And I was really proud that she didn't care to get vengeance overall. It was about getting home.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
love that. And I'd love to see a continuation of this universe. If they don't make this show a Gundam Requiem for Vengeance, that's not Gundam style. They made a new show. I want to keep it in this universe from this perspective. Because this is unlike any other
it's
Gundam show or movie
it's
ever made.
definitely interesting. Well, seeing that we had a full meal, another full meal, and a mini meal again, we keep our same ratings from the beginning of the show, which equals a 3.67, which rounds up to a full meal. So we're ending on a full meal. And it does appear with a full meal that this particular series is binge worthy. Um,
We
we
got
ended on
Pearl
full
of
meal,
Nights in
four
the
out of
chat.
five. So yeah, so this is something that we are recommending for a watch. Gentlemen, you have any last thoughts before we sign off for the night?
Just real quick in the chat, we got Polar Nights, and they said, I love this show. It is the perfect evolution of beard growth. I don't know, Chuck, is that something? Beard
I
growth?
don't know what that is. Yeah.
Beard
Okay.
growth.
That's what they got in the,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
are they talking about binge worthy or the show? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it may be talking about Gundam. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then it's just howdy, y'all. So yeah, that's it. That's all I was saying.
Okay.
Acknowledge our chat.
Okay. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for everyone who showed up in the chat and Thank you for everyone who will be watching this on the rewatch. I do want to thank uh, Crystal and Digital Click. They provide all of our graphics and any of your digital needs. So if you have a need for graphics, digital, or otherwise, marketing, they are definitely the people to use. So you definitely need to hit them up. I do want to thank the greatest technical producer in the land, and that would be Mr. Rodney Cajudo behind the boards. This time, he didn't get to say anything. I don't know if he watched the show or not, but from time to time, you'll hear him speak out from behind the boards. We're missing a few people tonight, so we do want to say hello to Catherine and the Courtney and the Dayla and the Trey, our other co-hosts and our collaborators on the Geekish Network. Um, Mr. Babs, sir, could you explain to everyone? I know that everyone who's here, they know, but for the people who just dropped in, this is their first time, explain to them what is the beauty? What have they stumbled on with the Geekish Network? Tell them what we are.
The Geek Network is the premier Black Indigenous people of color geek network. It is the home for everything geek. If you like anime, if you like television film, if you like comic books, if you like action figures, whatever your desires in your geeky world, in your personal color, and you want people that look like you to talk about it and celebrate this stuff, this is the place for you to be at. We invite everybody. It's open to everybody, of course, but people of color have a different perspective than usual. The normal white people that have a perspective, we have also a perspective in this and opinions of stuff like this, and we're here to express those things on everything that everybody loves, from Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. We talk about all of it. So we're a network of podcasts. We have a bunch of podcasts. We constantly think of new ones to create and recruiting for podcasts. So you have a podcast idea and you're a person of color and is doing something geeky, pitch it to us. We're open to that as well. So that's what the Geekish Network is.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bab. We are appreciative that you have joined us tonight for BingeWorthy. As we said, we recommended this as a BingeWorthy product. So if you have not seen uh, Gundam Requiem for Vengeance, we suggest that you do check it out. Join us next week as we'll be watching what has been fantastic so far, the previous 2 seasons, but season 3 of Amazon Prime's The Legend of Vox Machina. Um, I am Rakai Steed, new from the Ville. This is Johnny Randolph and Charles Babb, and we're signing out. So geek out and good night. That's
Peace.
Courtney's.
Peace.
I had to give her credit.
Yep.